Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline podcast, so just me today. There'll be games, movies and TV, if I've been doing that stuff in the week in question. There'll be something from that week, hopefully something a bit more positive than recent times, but I'm sorry I can't promise that. If you're checking us out on YouTube, I'm sure you're a subscriber, one of our few subscribers. You might notice we're doing the subscription drive at the moment, so if you could subscribe, if you haven't, that'd be great. And if you have, maybe you could pass it on to somebody else to do the same. That would be cool. So yeah, here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline podcast. I swear down, I've said it a bajillion times before, that laptop used to think it was some kind of jet engine, or it's infused with a jet engine. My work laptop is in the way. So, Monday for me. Not Monday for you. I'm going to avoid any lockdown talk. There are bigger fish to fry in the world right now. Oh my word! And I keep coming back to it. I keep saying it. There is a reason this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Darkest Timeline podcast. Without a shadow of a doubt, this is the Darkest Timeline. Just doing a little bit of a move and a shake. Unfortunately, the shake will be audible. Today, up at 7. Said that I would take the baby to nursery. Not gonna lie, I am really not down with the baby going to nursery. As she is not herself. It's been a rough couple of weeks baby wise. I don't normally talk about the baby. So up, log on, work, take the baby, drop the baby off, come home, log back on. Said to Sam earlier, I had a call with Sam to try and sort some work out. I said to him, I was like, by 8:35 this morning, I felt like I'd done a full day's work and couldn't understand why it was 8:35. It made no sense to me. I'm like, I've done 9 hours work today. One of those days where I logged on and I was like, when I logged off on Friday, there was no work to do. I managed, at the last minute, I managed to clear the last piece of work. So, two possibilities. One, there is no work to do and I'll go and get some other work. Second possibility is that magically, over the weekend, when nobody should be working, loads of work has appeared from nowhere. 23 pieces of work magically appeared. That was fun. But again, don't often talk about work, and I'm not going to. I think I'm just delaying the inevitable. There was some stuff happened today. I'm not going to go into it. It's been a roller coaster day. At this point in time, I've done my workout, I've eaten, even had some time watching a little bit of the television. Ultimately, if I'm honest, I wanted to make sure that the baby was asleep, and she went to bed nearly 3 hours ago. That's how it is at the moment. Right then, let's get cracking. So, darkest timeline, absolutely the darkest timeline. Obviously, there's been, at this point in time, we're not talking lockdown. I could not tell you the status of things at this point in time. I think it's take your own interpretation. So, there you go. What we have been talking about is the police brutality in America, the riots, the protesting, it's bonkers. The video that I was going to talk to you about today was the video of the 73-year-old gentleman who walked up to what was essentially a wall of police in riot gear. It appeared like he was basically saying to a couple of these police officers, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? What's the need for this? Sort of referring to the riot gear. In the video it might suggest that he may have touched by accident, sort of come in contact with one of the officers' equipment, and the officer has responded by pushing him. Now, this is an elderly gentleman, has pushed him backwards with force. He has fallen backwards, and all you can hear on the video is the sound of his head hitting the concrete. The video then goes on where it looks like the same police officer attempts to go and, what I would term, finish the job, and is stopped by another police officer who seems to be calling for medics. This point in time, the video shows that the man is out. He is out. He is also bleeding profusely from the back of his head. He was holding his phone when he fell. That falls out of his hand eventually as he presumably loses control. And the video then goes on to show somebody pushing through the crowd of police in an attempt to get to this elderly gentleman. He is subsequently detained. Took about 20 police officers in riot gear to detain one man holding his hands up in the air. And that was that. That was the video. It's absolutely disgusting. It follows on from the stuff from last week. It's just video after video after video of police brutality in America. And, people will say to you, it's just one or two bad eggs. The best quote I saw around this in the last week was somebody said, I'm not seeing one or two bad eggs, I'm seeing multiple videos of multiple police officers committing these awful attacks on members of the public. It now seems to be that they will just attack anybody. There's been videos of them pepper spraying people from vehicles. There is just so much stuff going on. I believe today the Minneapolis police, like the state or the whatever, have announced that that it is their intention to disband the police, because, quote unquote, there is no chance of reform. So what they're saying is that their police department is that bad with things like racism and things like that they can't do anything with it, so they'll just get rid of it and presumably start from scratch, which is comforting to hear, I'm sure. Going back to the elderly gentleman, it was reported that he was in a critical but stable position from the hospital. I don't honestly know what that means. The two officers involved in the video were suspended without pay. I don't know how it works. They weren't charged, but they had to go to court. all the police officers of that department walked out, and the 2 police officers in question left court with no charges, which, I mean, how does that happen? And they were met by all of their colleagues who cheered them leaving court. What exactly are they cheering? It's bonkers. I could not imagine living in America with the way their police forces operate. I know that there are, there've been people posting videos of, good police officers, what seems to be the few of them that there are. And I know that I'm a white British man sitting in England. In some respects people would question why it bothers me so much. They're not shooting me in the face with rubber bullets or pepper spraying me. But it's it's the world that we live in. It's awful. It's terrible. It really is. It's very sad to witness a lot of shocking things. You wonder how these police officers become like this. I know it's always been said that any form of racism or anything like that, any sorts of violence. Oh, there was the video of the police officers spitting on the guy who was in handcuffs on the floor, and they just kept doing it. There was this one police officer who just kept spitting on this guy. There's all these people like videoing it and shouting over that they've caught it on camera, and he just carried on doing it. He does like 3 or 4 times on video. That's a level of balls right there. But then I suppose when nothing's going to come of it, as with the 2 officers that had no charges brought against them. So that leads me on to something else. When you just think, alright, here we go again. So, screen went black on the laptop. Wiggled the screen because I was like, that shouldn't go black, it should go off, not black. Wiggled the screen, and the program I used for recording stuff was like, nah. Allegedly, it has recovered what it had recorded. I've got a box that's locked out. I can't close the box. And as I mentioned before, the laptop is apparently actually going to take off today. Of all of its attempts to take off, today's the day apparently. The program I used for recording was like, there's inconsistencies when we recovered the file, so I can only presume that all of that stuff that I've said is corrupt at this point. It is honestly quite exhausting, the thought of having to maybe re-record this. I'm going to have to attempt to carry on. These are my problems, not your problems. But this is going to be fun. So, if the stuff that I was saying before recorded and we still have it, we still own it, what I will say to you is, going back to what I was saying, a lot of my news feed these days is coming from a platform that I never put any stock into. Something I use for the podcast-based usage, and nothing else. Until recently, until a couple of weeks ago. around the time that obviously the George Floyd incident sparked all of this. And since then, that's where I've been getting my quote-unquote news from, like these videos and things that I've been watching. And it's and that is Twitter. I've never been a fan. Never been a fan. I've lost far too many hours of my life to Facebook. Somebody recently said to me that they were working on they were gonna look at getting rid of Facebook because it's pointless having it. When was the last time you saw anything of any actual use on Facebook? And since then, I've been seeing a lot of that. It's like, I've seen this story before, I've seen this post before, I've seen this thing before. And it's a bit dull. So I've been stuck, I found myself stuck in like a Twitter news feed loop for probably far too long. Like I say, these videos keep getting posted, and like compilation videos of people being horrifically beaten and battered by police and stuff. And yeah, Twitter's become a little bit of like a go-to. I don't do the news. I don't, and I would never put the news on TV. If I needed a piece of news, I would go to the internet. In our house, we don't actually have access to terrestrial television like the way you used to get it, like through an aerial. Our aerial does not work. Hasn't done for nearly the entire time I've been in this house. So if I was going to attempt to put the quote unquote put the news on, it would have to be through the internet, through streaming of some kind anyway. So might as well go to other news sources. My phone has a thing that if you swipe a particular direction on the home screen, you can get to a news feed every now and then. I look at that, usually by accident. So yeah, it's this, how all of this stuff that's been going on, all of this stuff that has been sparked, the information and how it's coming to me, and the news that's coming to me is coming to me through Twitter. The thing about that is that a lot of it will be coming through people that I have chosen to follow. I have obviously chosen to follow those people because those people have done something that I give merit to. So I would think in a lot of ways that a lot of their opinions would potentially line up with my opinions, and they're sort of leading that news feed. This person is posting this video because of the way they think about it. It does make me wonder, I've seen some videos about some stuff that news networks have been running about everything that's been going on, and I'd heard stories about certain news networks and the way they report news, and I understood that it was possible, but I never believed that it could be as bad as what apparently it is. And then I've seen some stuff from these news networks, American news networks, and it's like, wow, you're supposed to be the news. That's not reporting the news. It's like propaganda. It's quite terrifying. As a country, I both love and am baffled by America. America produces some of my favourite things in the world, and I think that they are batshit crazy. So, yeah, bit of a weird one. But yeah, I've been using Twitter a little bit more these days. So, I'm sure you can imagine I'm a little bit worried about this laptop situation. I can't go through this again. Oh God, it was so painful. And you guys lived through it with me, and I made sure of that because I needed you to feel my pain. Got a bit of a thing. Gonna let you in. Gonna let you in a little bit. So every now and then I play games on my phone. I'm sure I'm not alone in this. I've been known to play the odd game here and there. Got a couple of sort of favourites. Some games you play, unfortunately in this day and age, are just adverts for other games. Sometimes you're on social media, you'll get an advert for a game. There's a lot of adverts for games. The other day I saw an advert for a game. I'm not 100% sure where, but it was an advert for a game that was a football game for your phone. I'm like, football game, cool. Not maybe necessarily my kind of thing. However, me and football have a bit of a mixed history. Any of you keen listeners will know that the CookieCast network has a football podcast. Certainly did have until football wasn't a thing anymore. So you know, there is football in my life. I have been to football matches, both big and small. So I'm like, okay, what's this game about? And it's called, I'll even tell you what it's called. How about that? It's called Score Hero. Premise of the game is that it puts you in situations on the pitch where you draw a line to get the player to kick the ball to another player, draw another line, get the player to kick the ball to another player, draw a line, get the player to kick the ball in the goal. You have challenges to do, you know, score top corner, score with your hero, so on and so forth. So I looked at it, I was like, you know, something that actually looks quite interesting, especially for a mobile game. I'll give that a whirl. Downloaded said game, had a go. Lot of fun. So I'm playing it. I'm like, yeah, this is good. This is a really good premise. Works really well on a mobile. Really sort of like, oh man, this is good. This is good. I'm enjoying this. Off the back of that, I was like, you know something? I fancy playing. I fancy playing a little bit of FIFA. Again, FIFA, not something that I am a stranger to. I have owned and played, spent a bit of time with the old FIFA. That was that. Those were the two things that happened. I was like, off the back of playing this mobile game, kind of fancied playing a bit of FIFA. Didn't think overly too much about it, but I basically go in phases where about once every 6 years, I'm like, oh, do you know something? I fancy playing a bit of FIFA. Sometimes it's a case of like, you know, getting a cheap older version. Like, you know, if you buy last year's version, you can get it for like a few quid when the new one's out, sort of thing. Any of you who follow all of our podcasts will know that there is our weekly gaming news blast. And last week, which won't be last week for when you're hearing this, but whatever. Last week, JK was talking about the fact that there was a sale on the PlayStation Store and the Microsoft Store. I was like, oh, I'll have a look at that. JK wanted me to get Breakpoint. Anybody who's listened to my extensive review over many weeks of the game Breakpoint can probably guess my answer on that one. So the other night I was playing Maneater, which we'll come back to, and I was like, ooh, I'm kind of finished playing, but it's a bit early to go to bed. I need something a little bit in between. Ooh, I'll quickly go and have a look on the store. Jumped over to the store. There's a section, games under £16 in the sale. Clicked on that. Anybody want to guess what the first game on the list was? FIFA 20. I'm like, that's a bit of a coincidence. They were like, you think it's a coincidence? How about we give you FIFA 20 for £9? I'm like, is this an add-on? Is this like... I know like FIFA games have like packs of cards where you can get players, and like a lot of games have like season passes and DLCs and stuff like that. Like, there must be something like that in the description. Full game. Like, what? Clicked on it, watched like the trailer, I guess, and for all I could work out, it was get FIFA 20 for £9. I'm like, this is a little bit too much of a coincidence. Okay, first things first, let's look on Amazon and see how much you can buy it for new from Amazon. £22. I'm like, how does that work? It's £9 here, £22. I guess, you know, I get that it's on sale, but really? So, I was like, I'll sleep on it. I'll decide tomorrow. Got up the next day, I'm like, it's £9. Full game, £9. So, I bought FIFA 20 for £9. It was 50 gig. It was 47 and a bit gig. It told me it was going to take 9 hours to download the full game. I don't believe that it took that long. It was sort of like 4 or 5 hours or something. It does that thing where it downloads so much and then you can play it, which I did. And then later that day, last night, I put it on and played a couple of games, various different things. The FUT, FIFA Ultimate Team, and 1 second, I'm not trusting the laptop. FIFA Ultimate Team. I played career mode. I played something else. One of the games I played, I won 16-0. So, you know, there's that. Got me thinking about me and football. Like I said, me and football have had a bit of a checkered past. When I was a little boy, football was everything to me. Absolutely everything. I was football mad. It's like 7th birthday, 6th, 7th birthday. All I wanted was a full kit, full Man United kit, full kit wanker. Which I got, and I think it was like it wasn't just like the the shirt, the shorts, the socks. I'm pretty sure it's like shin pads, boots, the works. All I ever wanted to do in my time was kick a football. Kick a football from one end of a football pitch to the other. Run up and down. I was super skinny. Like, you know, those like a little kid where you can see their ribs. That was me. But there was problems. You know, I just remember, like, you know, when you've got like 3 footballs and one of them's practically flat and the other one's all the leather, all the plasticky leathers come off, but then you've got the leather underneath, and then you've got like one of those balls that you kick like full force and it goes backwards because it's so light, like a beach ball sort of thing. Not a beach ball, but a ball that you'd have for the beach. That's what I remember of football, just being absolutely obsessed. Football, playing football, football. Being a child of that age, I suffered with a multitude of things, and those things were, I had horrible asthma, hay fever, and this was in the 80s when nobody really knew what a lot of this stuff was, or how to treat it, or how to handle it. I also suffered with a series of allergies, and as a very active young wannabe footballer, the best possible thing to be allergic to was grass. So I went from kicking a ball and playing football in that way to not being able to do that. I remember going to Old Trafford to see Man United play against QPR. Pretty sure they won. Man United won like 5-0 or 5-1. Big thing, like being that age and going to this huge place, being terrified of getting lost because there was so many people. It was so loud, but one of the first sort of times of being able to look back and go, it was loud, but it was a good loud sort of thing. And the way I've always sort of said it to people is, when my dad went, he kind of took football with him. I don't want this to sound in any way sexist, but he was the man of the house, and he brought the football with him. My love and my passion for American football started at that time as well, largely because I was allowed to stay up super late and watch American football with my parents, with my dad a lot. I had like American football posters, framed pictures on my wall in my bedroom as a young lad. So the sport stuff left the house when my father left the house. And that was kind of that. That was kind of that was it. Years later, for various reasons, there have been points in time where I've sort of tried to fill that role. And then there's been points, I've been to a multitude of Borough games. I've been to a load of games at Bootham Crescent, whether it's York versus whoever, or York versus Borough, or games like that. York versus Hartlepool, those sorts of games. And the love and the passion for it isn't there the way it was. But I don't hate it. So yeah, getting the opportunity to buy a FIFA game for £9 and play I had a real tough decision. I ended up going with Man United, but I felt like I had no affinity towards them. I remember having a FIFA game where you could play as York City, and that's what I really wanted for this one, but it wasn't an option. And I was sort of leaning towards going with probably Borough, because that's a team that I probably know the best at this point in time. But then I didn't want James Pallas getting all pissy with me because I didn't pick Forest, so to stop any arguments, I decided to go with United. One of those things. Thought I'd share a little bit of something with you about me and my past. There's a lot of stuff that I try to share, and there's a lot of stuff that, for whatever reason, at that time, I don't. So I thought I'd meet you in the middle, tell you something from back in the days. Do you remember Pet Love, Pet Hate? Unfortunately, what I knew was going to happen has actually happened. This week, I don't have a pet love. I believe I did at some point, and I believe I forgot it before writing it down. So I'm sorry, but the inevitable has happened, and we are just talking about pet hate today. Today's pet hate is, it's ear hair, but it's also nose hair. Do you remember in Wayne's World. Wayne's World 2, right at the beginning, he talks about how he's like growing up. And he's like, growing some hair in some really weird places. I grow these like little hairs. I'm touching them now. I'm touching the area. Like, what's the thing? Because obviously you've got your earlobe. That's at the bottom. What's the bit that comes off your face? Who knows? Like underneath that, where it goes down to your earlobe, you get these little hairs that grow, and they're not little, and they grow so fast. Like you pull one out, and then 2 days later you're pulling one out again. They grow so fast, and they're annoying. And I'm like, what is the purpose of this? Other than to signify that I am absolutely an old man. What is the purpose of these hairs? You know, to stop me from hearing things? To protect my hearing? And then, yeah, recently, the nose hairs. I've had to start trimming the nose hairs a lot more than I used to. Eyebrow hairs as well. Never knew that was going to be a thing. But yeah, I have to trim the eyebrows. I mean, come on, could I be any older? How about this? To finish off this pet hate, I looked in the mirror earlier and I was like, the hell is that? And in my right nostril there was a white nose hair. And I know what you're thinking. Are you sure it was attached? Yes, it was attached. A white nose hair. I'm not even 40. Man. Next thing on the list is usually, I'll say usually, but a few times recently, has been 3D pen. Haven't done any. I haven't had the time or inclination to do any, I'm afraid. Ultimately, all that means is that we're moments away from me spilling a drink on the mixer. So I do need to get that case finished off and get the bat symbol rocking again. Might do some of the weekend with the Childers. We shall see. Who knows? Might be able to get that finished. TV wise, I have only been watching Breaking Bad. Watched a couple of stand-up specials, but then it's nothing new. I watched Ball Hog yet again. Tom Sawyer's Ball Hog. And I watched Bert Kreischer's Secret Time, which is hands down Bert's best special. I do feel bad that I don't watch his latest one. It's just, it pains me to say it, but it's just not as good. It's certainly not his best. Breaking Bad season 4 finished today. Sponsored by Rage, because every time they show Jesse's house, he's either playing the game Rage or you can see the box for the game Rage. I presume the people that made Rage probably gave them some money. As I've said before, I'm not going to tell you anything new. Either you've seen it and you don't need to know, or you haven't seen it and you're not going to. This is for a very small number of people who might be interested in watching it or have seen it before and want to rewatch it. I mean, it's just so downhill. It's actually becoming one of those things at the moment that I have to force myself to put it on because it's a tough watch by this point. You know, Series 5 is, yeah, it's dark. I mean, Series 4 is no freaking love ride. Yeah, Series 5 is where it really, well, it's the last series, so I've watched the first episode today, and it's like the episode where Walter's just being like this. He's just a cocky dick because he's won. So yeah, there's that. So I caught bits of that Epstein documentary, the Filthy Rich thing. I didn't watch it all. I watched it. I caught bits while Leon was watching it. Yeah, and interesting for a documentary to not really mention a lot of the stuff that was speculated around all of that. Apparently not a single mention of the CIA, which was interesting. Did watch a movie. Trying to keep that move train going. It wasn't a recent film, it was an old one. Film that I recently did a DVD clear out and Blu-ray clear out. And it was like, I'm not getting rid of that and I want to watch it. So sat down to watch the film Dog Soldiers. Certainly a classic, probably a little bit too classic. Thursday I was watching it on DVD, not a great start. It was like starting that film, it was super grainy. It probably fall into the category of being a low budget horror movie. I imagine they spent a lot of their budget on the cast. It's probably only like a couple of them. I know one of the guys later went on to be in Game of Thrones. But you've got Sean Pertwee, who I can't imagine will have come overly cheap, and the guy who died in Trainspotting as the main character. Great film, it really is. Probably a little dated at this point in time. It probably hasn't aged as well as I'd hoped. But great examples for like a horror movie for good editing, keeping your costs low by like a lot of the film was just like an arm, a werewolf arm. Like coming through a door or coming through a window or whatever. So I imagine they managed to keep their costs down reasonably well. Oh, you see? And that is why you wait 3 hours to start a podcast. Right, I'm going to have to pause it. I haven't mentioned before how it's every time. Every time I do a podcast. That child wakes up. What was I saying? Dog Soldiers. Yeah. Kick the table on the way back in. Ultimately, it's a good film. It's a film that is that leans heavily on its actors, and they're really good. It's a good film. Like I say, little bit hasn't aged great. Still serviceable. British. Kind of horror. I mean, it's not horror. Werewolves in it, so. But it was an enjoyable watch. Glad it was something that I'd sort of picked out as wanting to watch. So that's the movie. Let's talk a little bit of games. Maneater. Finished. Sort of. Ultimately, I have finished the game. I've had the credits. The game then allows you to go back to playing, and as a huge part of that game is collecting stuff. Obviously, you can go back to the areas that you've sort of left, go about collecting anything you might have missed, which I did. Got to the point where I don't know how many areas that there actually are. Let's say there was 6. Of the 6, 4 of them were 100%. 2 of them, I think I needed like 1 thing from one area and 1, maybe 2 things from another area. By this point, I was a little bit bored of it. It finished at the right time. It finished in the right way. I was fine with that. I didn't need to be going around collecting a load of nonsense, some of which I couldn't find. So I kind of left it there, basically. Which led me going back to playing The Last of Us, and like I say, I bought FIFA, which I've told you about. Last of Us, I played a big chunk of The Last of Us last night, and I played a bit of it yesterday during the day. It is what it is. I have concerns about the new one, and I've spoken to you about those concerns. I can't seem to get away from how incredibly linear this game is, and how I feel like I never noticed it originally. I must have known, but I think, it's a game I thoroughly enjoyed. I have owned it on 2 different systems, PS3 and PS4. This is the remastered version I'm playing. Thoroughly enjoyed. I was all in for getting like all the upgrades and stuff, which you would have to play that game probably in the region of 5 or 6 times to get all the upgrades. So nobody can say that I didn't love that game. But playing it this time, it's a little different. I've just switched to playing as Ellie, which I've just started that. I've just started that bit. She brings with her a different play style. She has a knife which seems to be unbreakable, unlike the shivs which Joel has, which break after each use. But by the time Joel kind of went out of the game, I had like so many weapons for him. Didn't have a lot of ammo. I seem to remember having more ammo previously. But I had loads of weapons. I even got a flamethrower. Whereas starting as Ellie, you start with a bow and arrow. I'll keep playing it. I don't feel like it's something that I'm going to stop playing at this point in time. And I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I'm like I say, I'm seeing things that I maybe didn't see as much previously. I've already told you about FIFA, so I probably don't need to tell you any more about FIFA. I'll keep playing that. I mean, I'm gonna stop this. I'm going to probably curse about the laptop a little bit more, and I'm probably going to put FIFA on. I don't know. Is that a game that you necessarily need updates about? Do you care that I won a game 16-0? So yeah, Oculus wise, a little bit of an issue with the Oculus. Something that I wasn't overly sure would ever really be an issue has become an issue. When I was buying the Oculus, somebody said to me, there are 2 versions. One's 64 gig, one's 128, and there's a hefty price difference. Like one was £500, the other was £400. And I was told, don't get the bigger one. It's unnecessary. You can put things on and take things off them so easily that space isn't an issue. And up to this point, I haven't really found much of an issue with the space. It's been very much I don't need that anymore, take it off, or oh, this game's a little bit bigger, I need a bit of space, let's get rid of anything I haven't used recently. Which is the principle that I use for a lot of things. However, recently, the Oculus has been saying that it couldn't do its updates for games. And it'll interrupt a game I'm playing and tell me that it's not got enough space, and then it's like, oh, you've only got 500 meg. And I'm like, there are literally no games. There's like a handful of games that are bigger than that. What's your problem? Got to the point the other day where I had like 8 updates that needed doing, and it couldn't do any of them. I went through and deleted a shit ton of stuff. I was like, right, I don't use any of this stuff, like video apps and stuff. Got rid of them all. Tried to do the updates again, and it was like, can't do the updates, there's not enough space. So I started deleting games that I don't, like demos that I don't play for games that I don't own. Tried again, no. Then I started deleting like full-blown games. It's like, if I want to play it again in the future, I can re-download it, reinstall it. No. It was only later, because in the end I got pissed off and turned it off. It was only later did I realise that I probably needed to restart it so it could reassess its space. Since I've used it, I have been able to install all the updates, so that was the problem there. But yes, a little bit of a issue space-wise. Still doing the boxing, no surprises. Have been struggling with it a touch because I've increased the difficulty to nearly full from a lot of the fighters, and I've increased the exercise or the way I'm exercising, so there's not a lot left in the tank when it gets to boxing time, but I'm still doing it. I haven't played any Sorrento recently. I think I put it on the other day and the Oculus was like, I've only got 24% power and both of your controllers are running out of battery and a load of games need updating. And it was like, I guess it's not meant to be. Changed the batteries in the controllers, plugged the Oculus in, and didn't play any Sorrento. My aim is usually to play VR on rest days. Having the new surround makes it so that's not as much of a necessity, but yeah, it's kind of like something to look forward to. Not the Rona. So yeah, that's kind of that. As far as working out is concerned, like I said, the boxing's there. Today, managed to get a load of other weight onto all the stuff that I've been listing, so I've increased the weight on everything apart from bench press. Bench press is it's kind of in a lot of ways at the max for me at current, but I put more weight on the dumbbells, the tricep bar, curly bar, and the just the other bar that I've been using for like narrow grip curls. Can safely say that workout was a monster. I'm feeling it already, so I can only imagine what I'll feel like tomorrow. On the other side of things, didn't run on Saturday. Should have run on Saturday. Didn't. Weather's taken a real turn. Way back in May, the weather was amazing. Too amazing in some places. We're in June and I'm wearing jumpers. I couldn't feel my feet today because it was so cold, and I was wearing a jumper and shoes at the time. Kind of weather that doesn't really make you want to get out and run. The weekend when I would have run, it was chucking it down. No excuses, but these are excuses. I haven't done it, and I should have done it. It's my intention to go back and run. I need to complete that mile in one go. That is my goal. That is what I'm working towards, and I will keep plugging away at it. So yeah, that's the podcast for this week. I hope I haven't lost any audio. If I have, I'm going to be really upset. Sorry about the breaks. I'm sorry about having to deal with the laptop issue. Sorry. So there we go. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then. So there we go. What do you think to that? Another one done. Another one gone. Yeah. YouTube watchers, do subscribe. Be a love. If you've already subscribed, fantastic. Maybe you could tell somebody else to do the same. A lot of this stuff works on word of mouth, so put your mouth to good use and tell somebody to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Everybody jump over to thecookiecast.com, check us out over there. There's links for our social media, and you can send us an email. And if you do send us an email, I will read it out. How about that? So there we go. That's that for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye.